Hey everybody, the B-Man here. It's been a long time since I've done a video project. I've gone through a lot of changes here. I took a trip to Ireland. If you look up my other YouTube channel, I'll provide a link in the description as usual. Um, I did a trip to the Isle of Man for the TT race this last summer. And I've also sold my house and relocated, so a lot of things going on. I currently live in a very nice RV that I bought. And what you're looking at right now is the parts list and mostly assembled project that I'm about to tell you about today. If you live in a winter climate as I do, I live in Idaho, your water line to the RV, your water connection, if you're parked at a RV park, tends to freeze once the temperature gets a little bit too cold. Well, they make commercially available hoses. One such brand begins with a C. I won't name it completely because I don't want to get in trouble. Basically, it's an okay hose, but it has terrible durability and it has some horrible um, ratings on Amazon. And to boot, it's also been known to spring leaks and the heat tape tends to burn out on it. So just very cheaply made, and but it costs a fortune. A 25-foot hose is about $100. Well, I was going to try to optimistically tell you guys, hey, I can tell you how to build a hose that's better and cheaper. Well, unfortunately, with the cost of materials nowadays, cheaper isn't an option anymore, so we're going to have to settle for better. I'm going to kind of move down here. I don't have video editing software, so this is going to be raw and unedited video for you. This is basically the materials that you require to build this hose. Um, the first thing you need is half-inch PEX. Use PEX B, not PEX A, unless you have all the special tools for PEX A. You'll need some Teflon tape. You'll need a roll of electrical tape. You'll need the tools, the cutter and the crimper tool for the PEX. You'll need a package of PEX crimp rings. These are all available at Home Depot, by the way. You will need two 1/2 by 1/2 male adapters. I'm holding long enough. Pause the video and you can see the part numbers as I do this. You will need two of the, or excuse me, you will need one LFA 660 garden swivel. It is a 3/4 inch female hose by 1/2 inch female pipe thread. You will need an adapter, which is a 3/4 inch male hose by 3/4 inch male pipe thread, but it's also internally tapped for a 1/2 inch pipe thread, which will fit with the two adapters that I mentioned that you buy. That is LFA 665 by Everbuilt, and LFA 660 is the other one. You will need a roll of foil HVAC tape, which I forgot to bring over here, and also because the tape I used is the super heavy, thick stuff, and the thin stuff is perfectly acceptable and even better for this particular project. You will need a quality heat tape. I chose the Frost King HC18. As you can see, it's for a pipe that's between 15 and 19 feet in total length. And that is the heat cable I chose. You will also need some pipe insulation for the outside. I chose, and this is expensive stuff, the Armacell self-sealing pipe insulation. Fits 1/2 inch copper, 3/8 inch iron. Now don't worry about the fact we're using on 1/2 inch PEX. That doesn't matter for what we're doing, and because the heat cable takes up a little extra space, it actually makes it fit better. If you use the 3/4 inch version to do this project, you may end up with undesirable air gaps inside the insulation, which you really don't want. Anyway, so that's pretty much the materials list for the whole project. This did all set me back around $100, mainly because these Armacell insulation pieces, I bought 5 of them. They're 6 foot long a piece. I bought 5 of them, and they were almost $9 each. So that's half the expense right there. The heat tape, as I recall, was about $40. And in between the miscellaneous things, now I already had the tools, so obviously if you don't have the tools, you need to pay more. This is the PEX cutter. This is the crimper for the PEX rings. You need that tool. It is also important for any RV that you get a pressure regulator. These are usually about, focus, damn you. There you go. These are usually about $20 at most RV stores. And you want to hook it up to the RV end of your completed project hose. So the assembly of this project, and I'll stay kind of crouched down on the floor here, is pretty simple. The first thing you do is you take and I crimped on the first end of the hose, which was this end right here, the female end that goes to your spigot coming from the RV park. I went in and crimped that fitting on the end of the PEX pipe, and then started wrapping the foil tape around the pipe. Now you wrap it lengthwise. Do not spiral it. You stretch it out lengthwise. You go about 2 or 3 feet at a time, and you simply fold it over and wrap it around the pipe. Now, as you can see, some spots turned out really nice like that. Other spots turned out like that. And that's mainly an artifact of and like that. And that's mainly a drawback to using the thicker tape. If you use the thinner tape, it's real easy to fold it and wrap it neatly around the pipe. So you want to cover the entire length of the finished pipe. I wrapped it to a length of about 19.5 feet and then cut back what I didn't need, or actually 18.5 feet, and then cut it off. Actually, here you can see the end of the cutoff piece with the foil attached to it. And that was the leftover. So that's step one, wrap the foil tape around the PEX pipe. Step number two, or step one, excuse me, is putting that first fitting on one end and wrapping the foil tape around the pipe. So step one, put the fitting on. I recommend doing the female fitting, the faucet end fitting, because that's where you're going to have to start with the heat tape. Wrap your foil all the way down the length of the pipe. Then, once you do that, you go ahead and start putting the heat tape on. Now, the thermostat has to make contact with the pipe. I'm going to hold this up and excuse the messy RV here. There we go. Let's see if I can get a better background. There you go. And you can see the disc of the thermostat, the sensor is touching the foil covered pipe. Wrap that and tape it down tight so that it maintains a good contact. Then, as you can see, you basically tape the heat tape onto the pipe at about 6-inch intervals, roughly the width of your hand will work. And you want to do that and make sure you kind of stretch it tight as you do it. Now, I did it with the pipe straight out. So when you do curve the pipe, as you can see, you get a little bit of a wave here, a little bit of a raise up in the heat tape. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because once you put the insulation on, that'll help it maintain contact. But while you're putting it on, make sure the pipe is stretched out straight and try to keep it in good contact. Now, for now, I didn't put the insulation on because I wanted to show everybody the construction. But after you get the heat tape down, and I'll back up to detail there, then you're going to wrap it with the insulation. Now, at the RV end, I chose to extend the heat tape, as you can see here, long enough so that it would help cover the pressure reducer. So that way that pressure reducer will get just enough heat on it so it won't freeze. Now, you leave it loose. You do not tape it down until you actually assemble this to the RV. Then you put a single piece of tape right here where I'm pinching the heat tape. And then you put the foam insulation, you piece the foam insulation over it so that it covers it up. Also, the threaded adapter, that LFA 665, it has 3/4-inch external threads. And as you can see, I've wrapped that whole thing with electrical tape because you do not want those threads to cut into this heat cable. And after it's finished, you'll basically, after you finish that step, you put these last few fittings on, estimate the length of your heat cable. If you do not want the heat cable to extend past the male connection here, then just simply stop it. You would stop with the block here right about this point right here on the fitting. Again, I did it so I had extra protection for the pressure reducer. The last step is to take the insulation and wrap it around the pipe. Position the opening, the slit, opposite the heat tape, ideally. Excuse the dirty floor. And then you'll pull out the little strips and squeeze the insulation together. Cover the entire length of the pipe, including the thermostat. Frost King's instructions explicitly state the thermostat needs to be covered with insulation, which kind of surprised me. I thought they would want it exposed, but they want it covered, fully covered. So when I get to this end of it, and your mileage will vary depending upon the heat tape you use, also read your manufacturer's instructions on that. Some manufacturers want the thermostat buried in the insulation. Others want it out in the free air. So make sure you follow the instructions of whatever heat tape you buy. Again, avoid cheap heat tapes on Amazon, because that's what I'm trying to avoid, is having this thing freeze up on me. Now, you can do the same thing You can do essentially the same thing using an ordinary RV, water grade, drinking water grade hose. The reason I chose PEX for this project is because if the heat tape fails or the power fails and pardon me, excuse me, I got the hiccups here. If the heat tape fails or the power fails and the PEX does happen to freeze, PEX B especially and PEX A will tend to expand like a balloon in the frozen spot rather than bursting and rupturing. So once it thaws, the water will continue to flow, and once the heat warms the pipe up enough, the PEX will actually reshape itself back down to the normal diameter. So I felt it was a better material to use for this project. You can certainly use the RV grade drinking water hose and do essentially the same thing. I would still recommend wrapping it in foil and then placing the heat tape on top. This does two things. Number one, it improves the heat distribution. So you don't have a hot spot on one side of the hose where the tape is sitting, the heat tape is sitting rather, and the foil tape will help spread that heat evenly around the diameter of the pipe or the water hose, as the case may be. So either way, and then again, you would still cover it with the foam insulation. Another note on the foam insulation, if you don't use this specific insulation, the Armacell, there you go, let's give you a pause on there, try to get it so you guys can freeze frame that if you want. And if you don't use this particular insulation, which I did look up the manufacturer's information, and it can be used with heat tape. Make sure that whatever insulation you choose can be used with heat tape. Some of the cheaper insulations are not fireproof enough to be safely used with a heat tape inside of them, so you need to double check that. As a matter of fact, I believe the instructions with the heat cable mention the exact same thing. The other alternative you can use, and I don't have it sitting out here, I don't think I do anyway. Okay, let me show you. This RV is a train wreck of a mess right now, so I have to watch my video and not. The other alternative insulation you can use if you prefer, but it's a lot more labor intensive, is this stuff, the foil covered fiberglass. And this you would spiral, or you would end up spiral wrapping it around your completed assembly. And it's important that you put some sort of external covering over top of this, plastic or even a PVC sleeve or something, to prevent the water from getting into the fiberglass and just totally destroying the insulation value. So I chose rubber based, and this is a rubber foam. It's a very dense rubber. It's a rubberized coating on the outside, so it's a little better to be used outdoors. You still don't want your hose to sit in puddles of water. So also when you do position your completed assembly and start using it for your hookup, you want to try to have it on spacers or even just rocks or something, little sticks of wood every couple feet. Just keep it off the ground so it doesn't end up sitting in a puddle of ice or water and then create even more problems. But that's basically it. Again, I haven't done a video in a long time. A lot has been going on and a lot of changes in my life. And so this, I figure, would be a nice little project, and hopefully draw a little more attention to my channel, because this is a more broad-based topic than my usual stuff. Anyway, and speaking of my usual stuff on the channel, let me move some of the mess, and please excuse the mess in the sink and everything. In the near future, you're going to get to see a video on this. It's the Kraco 300 radio and 8-track player. The 8-track decking is dead. As you can see, it's missing cover for the track selector push button. The radio does work, and the other half of it, I knocked it over. It's sitting on the floor here. The other half of it, it actually goes together like a suitcase. The other half of it is the other speaker and the power supply for the radio. Unique little device, and I will do a video on that in the near future. So that'll be an upcoming video, going kind of back to my roots of my channel and my usual stuff. Anyway, well, that's it for this project. Again, a do-it-yourself, hopefully higher quality, longer lasting heated hose for RV use. I will let you know. I will update on my channel how it works after this winter season, and if I ran into any difficulties with it, and if so, what difficulties I had. Anyway, please feel free to like and subscribe, make any comments you wish. Keep them clean, however, and non-political, please. And we will catch you guys later with another video in the near future.